This is Sally welcoming you to the 2216th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 5th of December 2019. Due to the general election taking place next Thursday, which means our recording room is out of action, this is our last edition of the year. The readers this week are Sally, Alison, Geoffrey and Joan, with Hass on the controls. The editor was Phillip and the production and distribution team is Ali and Keith. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Brewer and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and the Enfield Dispatch and are their copyright. The lead story this week fears NHS changes will make access to GPs more difficult. Now, the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning the 11th of December are sunrise at 07:53 and sunset at 15:52. Now, Alison will read the first item of local news.
Fears National Health Service changes will make access to GPs more difficult. Local campaigners are warning a major healthcare shake-up affecting Enfield is part of the creeping privatisation of the NHS. Members of a group called Defend Enfield NHS say a decision to merge the borough's Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG, with 4 neighbouring CCGs will lead to patient care being increasingly based on cost rather than need. They claim it will lead to more private firms being used for NHS contracts and more people feeling the need to take out private medical insurance. CCGs were set up in 2012 and can buy in services from private health companies as well as NHS providers. Enfield CCG is now merging with Barnet, Islington, Camden and Haringey CCGs to form the giant North Central London CCG. This is part of a move to create an integrated care system, ICS, a type of organisation the campaigners say mirrors a system found in the US. These systems involve the NHS working closely with councils and other organisations to help people to live healthier lives for longer and to stay out of hospital when they do not need to be there, according to the NHS England website. But Defend Enfield NHS member Martin Blanchard, a retired medical academic and NHS consultant, claimed the new system would be designed to keep people away from expensive care, such as GPs and accident and emergency departments. He said, the idea is to reduce spend and keep people away from expensive care. Fellow campaigner Marion Judd, a former NHS physiotherapist, added, access to GPs is going to become more difficult. It will lead to patients needing operations waiting much longer for treatment, placing pressure on them to consider taking out private health insurance. Mr. Blanchard added, NHS England has a list of registered organisations allowed to provide support to set up and run the ICSs. Out of the 83 listed, only 7 are NHS organisations. The rest are private companies, and 23 of them are from the USA. The public have not been consulted about this. It is so important that they know. Defend Enfield NHS aims to raise awareness of what is happening to local NHS services. Its campaigners are leafleting, speaking at NHS and council meetings, lobbying MPs and giving public talks. An NHS spokesperson said, the single CCG will continue to work closely with local authorities. NHS providers, GPs, voluntary and community organisations at a borough level, including through the development of borough-based integrated care partnerships, to deliver high-quality, accessible health and care services for residents, improve outcomes and reduce health inequalities across North Central London, NCL. Patients, services users, carers and residents will continue to be central to the development of plans at both the NCL ICS level and borough-based integrated care partnership level. Patients and residents will continue to be represented on appropriate committees that are directly linked to the development and delivery of these models and the CCG's key commissioning activity. There will continue to be an important interface with borough democratic structures to ensure public scrutiny is maintained via health and well-being boards and overview and scrutiny committees. At NCL level, we will continue to work closely with the Joint Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee. The Conservative Party was also approached for comment.
This is an item entitled Remembrance of Christmas Past. It's a poem by Judith Fjost. They let the children out of school too early. I left the Christmas shopping till too late. Each day we had a holiday excursion, which gave us the entire week to wait in line for movies by Disney, gift wrapping by Lord and Taylor, and everyone's restrooms. On Christmas Eve, we started to assemble the easy-to-assemble telescope and fire truck with 47 pieces. By midnight it was plain there was no hope without an astronomer, a mechanical engineer and 2 psychiatrists. We rose at dawn to 3 boys singing Rudolph. We listened numbly to their shouts of glee. The kitten threw up tinsel on the carpet. The fire truck collided with the tree, requiring 1 rug shampoo, several band-aids and scotch before breakfast. I bought my husband shirts, wrong size, wrong colours, and ties he said he couldn't be caught dead in. I'd hinted Saint Laurent or something furry. He bought me flannel gowns to go to bed in, also a Teflon frying pan, a plaid valise, and the Weight Watchers cookbook. The turkey was still frozen at 11. At noon my eldest boy spilled Elmer's glue. At 5 I had a swell Excedrin headache, the kind that lasts till January too. But Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, I think.
The next item is written by James Cracknell and it's entitled Anger Over Council's Low Traffic Plan. Former boss of Cycle Enfield is among those critical of the latest scheme. It reads, Enfield Council has extended a public consultation on its latest cycling proposals after a furious backlash from local residents, councillors and parliamentary candidates. The local authority last month revealed its plans to create a series of low traffic zones across the borough, closing dozens of roads to motor traffic to try and stop rat running and reduce pollution by persuading people to leave their cars at home for short journeys. An area in Palmer's Green will be used as a 6-month trial for the scheme as soon as next spring. But residents living in roads now dubbed the Fox Lane Quieter Neighbourhood reacted with fury at a public exhibition, with one branding it as a disaster. It was only after several election candidates for Enfield Southgate began writing to the council demanding more time to consider the scheme, that a public consultation was extended until Sunday, the 22nd of December. Plans fear to block 16 road entrances, only allowing cyclists and pedestrians to enter, will funnel traffic into surrounding roads, worsening congestion and pollution in shopping streets such as Green Lanes. The council argues car use will decline, as happened in Walthamstow, where a similar project saw total traffic fall 16% after the first year, despite increases of up to 11% on surrounding roads. Mel Kirkland from Derwent Road told the Dispatch, "It is a disaster. My wife shops at Morrison's, but now she'll need to drive almost up to Southgate and back to get there." Eleanor Gray Parsons, another Derwent Road resident and a cyclist, said, "I appreciate the sentiments on climate change, but I think they need to look at this properly. I don't want to live in an enclave." The Quieter Neighbourhood scheme is the latest proposal from Cycle Enfield, the council's Millie Holland project that won £30 million from Transport for London in 2014 and has so far seen several miles of cycle lanes installed in the borough, including those on Green Lanes, which have been nominated for a top transport award. However, a previous attempt to reduce traffic in the Fox Lane area was abandoned earlier this year. The former boss of Cycle Enfield, Southgate Green councillor Daniel Anderson, admitted the large planters previously installed at road entrances had failed to deter drivers, and now, he says, he is also equally sceptical about the new road closures will work at all. These are major concerns, Councillor Anderson told the Dispatch. If there was a simple solution, we would have done it before. The reality is it really is very complex. I'm not opposed in principle, but you have to have more evidence and support from the community to make it work. The plans were published only a few days before the exhibition, and ward councillors weren't even invited. That's not the way to bring people with you. Fox Lane is the first of 8 low-traffic neighbourhoods set to be introduced across Enfield. Other zones include streets surrounding Connaught Gardens in Palmer's Green, Fernley Road in Winchmore Hill, Bowes Park, and streets around Bush Hill Road. But the Furze Lane area, plus parts of Edmonton Green and Enfield Highway. Not everyone is against the plans, however. Tom Parry, who lives in Old Park Road, which is part of the Fox Lane neighbourhood, said to the Dispatch, "We get cut through traffic, and by blocking one end, you can stop that. I think ultimately this will make life slightly less convenient for car drivers, but my main concern is for my young children." Deputy Council Leader Ian Barnes says the upcoming road closures trial will only become permanent changes if it improves the situation for local people and works for local businesses. And the feedback will be taken on board. Councillor Barnes added, "This is not a cycling scheme. It is about improving the quality of life. Residents have long complained about the volume and speed of traffic. Low traffic neighbourhoods are part of our long-term strategy to reduce traffic overall, which should lead to environmental improvements. We're currently receiving valuable feedback and anticipate revisions to this proposal. A key theme so far being concerns around entry and exit points for the Lakes estate.
Tributes to victims of terror attack. The victims of the London Bridge terror attacks were honoured at vigils in London and Cambridge on Monday. Jack Merritt, aged 25, and Saskia Jones, aged 23, were killed by convicted terrorist Usman Khan on Friday, November the 29th. The jihadi attacker began his lethal knife assault at Fishmongers Hall near Monument Station during a prisoner rehabilitation conference. Mr. Merritt and Ms. Jones, both Cambridge University graduates, were among academics, charity workers and former offenders attending the Learning Together event. Their attacker was later shot dead by police on London Bridge after members of the public stopped and disarmed him. On Monday, hundreds of people gathered outside the City of London's Guildhall and in Cambridge to remember the two young people who lost their lives. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn and Mayor of London Sadiq Khan were among those at the vigil in the capital. Christian and Muslim faith leaders brought the crowd together in a 2-minute silence to commemorate the victims of the attack. Speaking at the vigil, the Mayor of London honoured the innocent lives lost as a result of the horrific terrorist attack this Friday. He said, "The best way to defeat this hatred is not by turning on one another, but by focusing on values that bind us. To take hope from the heroism of ordinary Londoners and emergency services who ran towards danger, risking their lives to help people they didn't even know. And it is also by drawing inspiration from the lives of Jack and Saskia, who from an early age chose to dedicate themselves to helping others." So yes, we come together this morning in condolence, but also in a spirit of defiance, to say that London will never be cowed or intimidated by terrorism, and also to commit to honouring the memory of Saskia and Jack by dedicating our future to one defined not by hatred, but one defined by hope, by unity and by love.
And now a sports item. Borough end 6-game run without a league victory. A run of 6 straight Spartan South Midlands League Division 1 defeats was ended by Enfield Borough as they beat Shefford Town and Campton 2-1 on Saturday. In what was their first 3-point haul since October the 12th, Elliot Harris opened the scoring for the home side when he angled an effort just inside the far post. Midway through the second half, Richard Ennin thought he had doubled Borough's advantage, only to see the assistant raise his flag, and Shefford equalised straight after on the breakaway as Henry Sneed tucked home. Borough produced the best possible reply, though, and regained the lead within 90 seconds of Shefford levelling. Ennin blasting home from Hamza Shmakala's pass on his 100th appearance for the club. Bruno Tavares had a late chance to make it a more comfortable lead, but his effort lacked power and was easily saved. The win sees Borough sit 9th in the table, a point behind Ampthill Town, ahead of Saturday's visit to Milton Keynes Robins.
This is an item about Theatreland, and it's headed Superhero Show. Join Aladdin and his brave superhero team in defeating the evil Jafar as he plots to gather all of the villains of the ancient tombs to destroy all happiness. Will Aladdin and Jasmine find true love? Will the superheroes capture the villains once and for all? Or will Jafar conquer and destroy Panto Land as we know it? Sing along with the magical genie. Dance with the spectacular platinum dancers. Take a ride on the flying carpet and rub that lamp as you travel through the Arabian Nights. And it's all happening at Millfield Theatre, Silver Street, Edmonton, on Friday, January the 10th to Sunday, January the 26th. Various times. For details, phone 020 8807 6680 millfieldtheatre.co.uk.
The next item is quite different. It's headed up Jewish Family Abused on Train. This is written by Jesse Matthewson. An anti-Semitic attack on the tube was not just a one-off, Transport for London bosses have said, as they admitted there were 2 more attacks on the network this week. A Jewish family was subject to a torrent of anti-Semitic abuse on the Underground on Friday, November the 22nd. A video circulated on social media showed a man reading anti-Semitic writing to a Jewish man and his 2 young sons. The attacker accused Jews of starting the slave trade and told the man that his wife and children would become slaves. He also said Jews were responsible for the 9/11 terror attacks. Members of the public defended the family, leading the attacker and to become aggressive and threatened to hit one man. Sean Haywood, head of policing at TfL, said 2 other instances of anti-Semitic verbal abuse on London buses had been reported this week. She said, sadly and clearly, this is a reflection of wider society. The horrific incident we saw on the tube is not a one-off. In the last week, we've also had 2 incidents reported on buses. Ms. Hayward said that as with the incident on the tube, staff were not aware of the direct abuse at the time. She added, what is encouraging, while clearly we wish this didn't happen, is that we are seeing other customers stepping in and challenging that behaviour, supporting the victim or filming it, and that is really powerful. We're confident that the majority of incidents are known to us either through social media or through customers' actions. There were 453 reported incidents of anti-Semitic abuse in London in the first half of this year, according to Jewish Protection Group, the Community Security Trust. I say again, there were 453 reported incidents. This was apparently down 1% on the previous year, when anti-Semitic hit a national high. On TfL hate crime, this has increased by almost 10% in the last year, with 620 incidents in the first quarter of 2019-2020, compared to 564 in the same period last year. Ms. Hayward said TfL hosted 150 events last month to emphasise that these attacks are just not acceptable. Speaking at a TfL customer service panel yesterday, she said, in partnership with British Transport Police and the Met Police, we are doing a huge amount of proactive work to raise awareness of the fact that hate crime is not tolerated on our network. A spokesman for CFL said rises in reporting were positive as it alerted the network to the problem and allowed them to take more action.
Changes to rubbish and recycling service over Christmas and the New Year. Your revised rubbish and recycling collection dates are as follows. If your collection is due on Wednesday the 25th of December 2019, your collection will be on Friday the 27th of December 2019. If your collection is due on Thursday the 26th of December 2019, your collection will be on Saturday the 28th of December 2019. If your collection is due on Friday the 27th of December 2019, your collection will be on Sunday the 29th of December 2019. If your collection is due on Wednesday the 1st of January 2020, your collection will be on Thursday the 2nd of January 2020. If your collection is due on Thursday the 2nd of January 2020, your collection will be on Friday the 3rd of January 2020. If your collection is due on Friday the 3rd of January 2020, your collection will be on Saturday the 4th of January 2020. The Barrowell Green Recycling Centre will be open as usual except for Monday the 23rd of December 2019 closed, Tuesday the 24th of December 2019 open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m, Wednesday the 25th of December 2019 closed, Thursday the 26th of December 2019 closed, Monday the 30th of December 2019 closed, Wednesday the 1st of January 2020 closed. Council offices will be closed from the 25th of December and reopen on Monday the 30th of December. They close again on the 1st of January. For libraries and registrars, visit www.enfield.gov.uk. Christmas tree recycling. If you have a real Christmas tree, please put it out for collection alongside your food recycling bin on your collection day from the 6th to the 13th of January. Please remove all decorations, pots and turf from your tree as those cannot be recycled. If your tree is taller than 6 feet, please take it to one of the parks or cut into smaller pieces as it cannot be collected otherwise. Until Sunday the 12th of January, trees can be taken to Pims Park, Bush Hill Park, Berry Lodge Gardens, Town Park, Jubilee Park, Albany Park, Arnos Park, Durance Park, Broomfield Park, Totten Hall Sports Ground, Oakwood Park, Grovelands Park and Trent Park. Trees to be left inside Park Gate for collection by park staff. Trees can be taken to Barrowell Green Recycling Centre after this date.
Fears over the future of whitewebs. Fears are growing over the fate of one of the borough's best-loved parks after Enfield Council invited commercial bids for alternative leisure proposals on land that includes ancient woodland. It was reported in spring that the council was seeking to lease the 42-hectare Whitewebs Park golf course to a private provider as it was struggling to cover its costs. But the Dispatch has now learned that a further 55 hectares of adjacent land was also included in the offer. Marketing materials for a 25-year lease beginning in March 2020 suggests the area could be used for disposing of up to 200,000 cubic metres of inert material that would assist with redevelopment. The council has since confirmed that it has received 18 expressions of interest in the Greenbelt site. Some include proposals to close the 87-year-old golf course designed by former Open champion John Henry Taylor and use the land for other commercial activities. Suggested uses include a leisure centre, outdoor gym and bike track, although the council has encouraged creative ideas. Local resident Sean Wilkinson, who regularly walks his dog in the woodland, says he cannot understand why the council has decided to include the whole of Whiteweb's Park in the lease. It is a beautiful piece of ancient woodland, he told the Dispatch. It forms part of a suite of green belt land from 40 Hall Estate to Hilly Fields. What could you put there that will make a lot of money? What really made me angry was when they described the ancient woodland as adjacent land. Hoping to quell growing unrest from local people, the council issued a statement last month which ruled out using the site for landfill. It said, "The proposals include a number that propose retention of golf. Other proposals do not include golf but propose other leisure uses and or rewilding of the landscape, nature or wildlife reserves and other woodland pursuits. None involve clearing the site to create a landfill. Some proposals involve the import of soil to remodel the golf course. As part of our assessment, we would consider the scale, suitability and impact of these proposals. Any proposal based simply on importing soil would not be acceptable." Whitewebs faces competition from nearby golf courses, despite offering an 18-hole round for as little as £8.50. Although the council claims it is losing money on the course, it has not revealed how much it receives in rental income from the Toby Carvery and Whiteweb's cafe businesses, which also operate in the park. The Dispatch has also seen an email from a local councillor, Hass Yusuf, who told a resident that it would be very easy for the council to actually sell off Whitewebs and wipe out our budget deficit, but that won't happen. Once a shortlist of bidders is drawn up, the council says it will engage with members and stakeholders before a final decision.
This is an article about gardening in winter. Richard Harms, head gardener at Middleton House Gardens, on what his team are up to over the colder months. Many people don't realise quite how much there is to do in a garden during the early winter period. If the weather is mild, for example, weeds will often continue to grow and herbaceous plants can struggle to reach full dormancy. At Middleton House Garden in Enfield, we work hard to keep on top of these things. This is because the midwinter kicks off with an abundance of snowdrop bulbs all over the gardens, including in the beds and borders. Such is our display of these wonderful bulbous plants that we hold a very successful snowdrop sale every year. The next one takes place on Saturday, 25th of January 2020. Snowdrops are swiftly followed by scilla, narcissi, and of course crocuses. Edward Augustus Bowles, one of Britain's most famous self-taught gardeners, lived at Middleton House and was known as the Crocus King. We begin pruning our climbing roses in November, as the presence of sap makes the stems more flexible when training them to form a beautiful fan. This task can easily go into December, but as a rule, we like to get them done before Christmas. Planters and beds are planted with a mix of tulips and spring bedding plants, such as forget-me-nots. There are lots of other jobs to be done during early winter, which I have listed below. You may see our gardeners doing some of these if you visit Middleton House Gardens in the coming months. A gardener's list of duties may never seem to get done, but there is no other job I would rather do. There follows a somewhat formidable list of garden jobs for winter. 1. Finish the autumn tidy-up of leaves from lawns, ponds and flower beds. Cut back herbaceous perennials. Deadhead pansies, viola and cyclamen to encourage more flowers. Prune deciduous trees such as birch, laburnum and Japanese maples to avoid bleeding. Finish winter bedding if soil isn't frozen. Plant evergreens if it's not too wet. Plant bare root plants such as roses. Recut and shape lawn edges to save work in early spring. Check winter protection on tender plants periodically, especially after a storm. Provide some food and fresh water for birds. Prune climbing roses, installing new wires and supports where necessary. Apply netting over vegetables in the kitchen, garden, and remove the remains of old crops.
The next item is headed up 2 decades in temporary accommodation. 21 years, that is the longest period a local resident has spent in temporary accommodation, waiting to be housed by Enfield Council. This shocking figure emerged at a meeting last week of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee as councillors discussed new plans to tackle the borough's housing crisis. Committee members gasped as it was revealed by Nick Martin, the council's head of temporary accommodation, under questioning by a Labour councillor. Nick said, 21 years is our longest so far. The average stay in temporary accommodation is actually 2.5 years, but nothing more was revealed about this particular case. Temporary accommodation, which can include homes owned by private landlords, housing associations, or the council themselves, is meant to be a short-term fix, while local authorities find suitable long-term housing for people who have become homeless. But with available homes in short supply, people are having to spend longer periods in temporary accommodation. Enfield has 3,410 families in temporary accommodation during April this year. This is the second highest number in England. The main cause of homelessness in the borough is the loss of a tenancy held with a private landlord, according to a recent report by the think tank the Smith Institute. Council bosses have now plans to intervene early to stop residents losing their homes and work with landlords to provide people with long-term tenancies. The aim is to ensure there are no households in temporary accommodation for more than 6 months, whilst saving the council over £1 million per year. The council also discussed the practice by neighbourhood councils, including Barnet and Haringey, of placing people on housing waiting lists into Enfield. Conservative councillor Edward Smith warned it was almost impossible to stop private accommodation being gobbled up by other local authorities. Joan, Director of Housing and Regeneration, replied, "It is absolutely true. We are a net importer of residents. It's a major concern for us, and we have been lobbying the government about that issue. Really, the only way around this is some legislation or requirement to stop other boroughs doing this. We need the government to help us with that."
Let the festivities begin. Jo Johnson from Love Your Doorstep on ways to support the local community this festive season. The countdown to Christmas is a marvellous affair in Enfield. The Parade of Lights kick-started the festivity on Sunday the 1st of December with more than 20 community groups coming together to form a parade along a route around Enfield town. Customers are urged to go out and support all types of businesses. It doesn't have to be a business with premises. You can support online businesses too. This is obviously something we encourage all year round here at Love Your Doorstep, but it's a great excuse to shout about those small businesses and give them a lovely boost in the run-up to Christmas. We like to call it the Shop Local Challenge and love to read about people's experiences of achieving their whole Christmas shopping via Enfield businesses. When you choose to spend your money locally, you are investing in the economy of your community. This is also helped by local businesses choosing to use local suppliers of products and services, along with being able to offer employment opportunities. It all contributes to making our community sustainable and economically viable. It is not just the gifts that can be sourced via our directory. You can also purchase your food from one of our local suppliers, whether it's meat from S.J. Smith Butchers, Christmas hampers from Holt Whites, or seasonal produce from Oakwood Delicatessen. We also have great hair and beauty people to help you get ready for that party season, plus there are local gift makers that run online shops from their own homes. As always, our wonderful local theatres have some great shows on offer over the festive period. Chicken Shed are bringing their adaptation of Snow White to the stage, as well as their Christmas tales for younger audiences, which take place at both Dugdale and Chicken Shed theatres. The traditional panto at Millfield Theatre this year will be Mother Goose. Have a wonderful December. You know where we are for all your questions during the festive season. Visit loveyourdoorstep.co.uk.
Hospital inspection. North Middlesex University Hospital has again been rated requires improvement by health inspectors. The Care Quality Commission said in its latest report the Edmonton Hospital's management had improved, but this was not enough to raise the overall ranking. Key weaknesses include a lack of mental health awareness, high job vacancy rates, and a lack of cleanliness in the maternity department. Strengths include good standards of risk assessment and a reduction by half in the number of patients contracting pressure ulcers during their stay. Hospital Chief Executive Maria Kane said, "We are pleased to be recognised as having improved, but are committed to dealing with the issues identified and providing the level of care our patients expect." Professor Ted Baker, England's Chief Inspector of Hospitals, said, "North Middlesex now appears to be moving in the right direction. The Trust has established an experienced and capable leadership team with the skills, abilities and commitment to provide high-quality services."
This is an article about football, and it's headed up "All on Board." While fans of some clubs chant "sack the board" when it all goes wrong, Enfield Town supporters, as members of the UK's first supporter-owned club, actually vote for directors and can even put themselves forward for election to the board. This is a time of year when such elections take place, allowing those with the requisite time, energy and skills to get involved in the decision-making process as the club pursues its vision of being both an inclusive hub for football and social centre for the community. The annual elections take place between now and Thursday, the 9th of January, with 4 board members required to stand down on a rotational basis year on year, but able to seek re-election. Enfield Town is keen to develop the scope of its membership and attract younger people, women and those from minority ethnic groups, to better align the directors with the community ethos of the club, which also allows for a number of associate directors who may not have time to be fully involved. Christine Hamilton, the former mayor of Enfield, is one of those who moved up from being an associate director to a board member and has made a huge contribution to the successful running of the club under chairman Paul Reed. The board are understandably proud of the unique democratic process which automatically makes directors accountable to the almost 300 paid-up members. Club director Geoff Smith says, "It has certainly worked well up to now. What we try to do is strike the right balance in terms of getting different skill sets on board." Geoff came up with the idea for the associate scheme. He adds, "I was very conscious that there were people around who want to be involved, but who didn't necessarily have the time or inclination to be a full-time director." Membership Secretary Dave Bryant believes it's the most inclusive way for clubs to operate. He says, "It means so much more to us than, say, supporters of Tottenham or Arsenal can experience. We feel it more intensely because we are directly contributing to what happens. Maybe that's why we all feel so bad when things go badly and so great when they go well." On the pitch, the club recently made history by reaching the first round of the FA Trophy, the non-league equivalent of the FA Cup, having come through 3 qualifying rounds. All eyes are now on a mouth-watering and potentially giant-killing home tie on Saturday the 14th of December against Ebbsfleet United, 2 divisions higher in the National League. Enfield's run in the competition has so far earned them more than £10,000, another indication of the impressive job manager Andy Leese and his staff are doing.
This item is also about the community, and its subheading is Enfield Connections has launched its latest round of community chest grant applications. Local organisations or community groups based in Enfield can now apply for funding from Enfield Connections to support their project's growth and positive impact on residents. Whether you're an individual with an idea that needs a financial kickstart to turn it into a reality, or maybe a fully fledged organisation that would like a boost of support to reach a wider audience, this grant is available to you. Enfield Connections is a local information and advice service for Enfield residents, and the article includes a picture of Angela Greaves holding up a poster about Enfield Connections. The organisation aims to improve people's well-being and mental health through signposting and providing support. Successful applicants will put forward a project which fits with the ethos of Enfield Connections. The grants are available to Enfield-based projects which aim to improve residents' ability to make informed choices about health and well-being and reduce social isolation through providing support and information. Angela Greaves, whose picture does appear in the article, is the programme manager for Enfield Connections and is looking forward to seeing the application forms come in. She says the endless possibilities of how this money will end up helping our community is very exciting. It's a privilege to not only support local projects with this grant, but also to know that the money will leave a positive mark on the larger community. The 4 previous winners of the Community Chest are currently in the midst of their projects. They include an organisation that improves the nutrition of people affected by multiple sclerosis, a project that helps people with learning difficulties to get involved in different and new activities, a company that supplies care and information for individuals who struggle with managing their own well-being, and a scheme that provides support to women who are feeling isolated or depressed. The application form went live on Friday the 29th of November, and the deadline for submissions is Friday the 20th of December. The email address is info@enfieldconnections.org.
This is an advert from North Middlesex University Hospital. Get your flu jab. The flu jab is free if you're aged 65 or over, or if you have a long-term health condition, if you have young children or are the main carer of an older or disabled person, you may also be eligible. It is safe and the best way to stay protected from the flu virus. Children can have their vaccination as a nasal spray. Adults can get the vaccine via their GP or at many local pharmacists. Find out more from www.nhs.uk/staywell.
Flats on station car park. Plans for building blocks of flats on Arnos Grove station car park have been revealed. Transport for London, TfL, wants to build 150 homes for rent in 4 blocks of flats either side of the Grade 2 listed tube station. The existing 303 parking spaces would be replaced with 6 disabled spaces, despite the car park being described by TfL as well used, with 850 people parking on a typical weekday. Locals had feared TfL would propose building a high-rise tower at Arna's Grove, similar to that now planned in Southgate, but the highest block will instead be only 6 stories. Nonetheless, the loss of the car park has stoked anger even before a planning application is submitted, with a petition opposing it already gaining 2,000 signatures. At a public consultation event last month, everyone who spoke to the Dispatch voiced opposition to the scheme, including Felicity Brown, who said, "It will mean more cars parking in local roads. People will pave over their front gardens. This is already a high-density area for housing." TfL has teamed up with developer Granger to draw up its plans and is also looking to build on the car park at Cockfoster Station. It says it is extremely proud of the history and architecture of Arna's Grove and that the plans align with the Mayor's transport strategy by discouraging up to 750 short car journeys and having a positive impact of local air quality. If the plans go ahead, TfL would contribute £1.7 million to local infrastructure.
This is an article about the Angel Edmonton. Major estate plans go to vote. It's by Simon Allen, the local democracy reporter. Residents will vote on a major regeneration project that could see 2,000 new homes built. Enfield Council gave the nod to the £770 million redevelopment of Joyce Avenue and Snell's Park estates in Angel Edmonton, near the borough border with Haringey, but will give residents the final say. Under rules brought in last year by Mayor of London Sadiqa Khan, all major regeneration schemes involving the demolition of social homes must have the backing of existing residents before they can receive funding from City Hall. Council leader Nesil Khaliskan said, "Residents have told us that their experience of living on these estates is not positive and that they feel this area of Edmonton has been abandoned. Every regeneration scheme in this borough should benefit its residents first and foremost, and this will be the case at Joyce and Snell's, with the project led and controlled by Enfield Council. Our plans allow every existing resident to have a home on the estate. There will be a new home for all council tenants, an offer for resident leaseholders, and the ability for existing private renters to access new build-to-rent apartments. The plans involve demolishing the existing buildings, which date back to the 1950s and 60s. The council wants to replace the estates, 795 homes, and build more than 2,100 new ones. Half of the homes would be designated as affordable, including 395 as social rent for existing residents. Some homes could also be offered to key workers, such as doctors and nurses. Maintenance costs for the ageing flats are expected to rise as more repair works are needed. Both estates also suffer from antisocial behaviour problems, which could be reduced by designing new buildings to improve security. Although the scheme could involve building on part of the neighbouring Florence Hayes recreation ground, the small park has been closed for many years because of problems with antisocial behaviour. Some of the open space could now be redesigned and reopened.
The next item is headed up "Why Residents' Associations Still Matter," And this is Helen Osman writing about the Winchmore Hill Residents Association relaunch. Winchmore Hill Residents Association, founded 60 years ago, has recently been relaunched with a new committee keen to rebuild the organisation. Why bother? Well, surely online forums and social media have taken over their role. And I would argue that residents' associations are as vital now as they have ever been. In this fractious political climate, residents' associations can speak out for their local communities because they represent the quiet majority, not just a vociferous online minority, however good their intentions might be. If you have a browse around the residents' associations all over the country and beyond, they will state that they want to develop a good community spirit, lobby on issues, and help residents get to know each other, as well as other worthy aims. Surely these objectives are as valid now as when these community groups were first set up, maybe decades ago. While the internet and all its various communication channels are great for helping to spread the word, it does not replace the immense value of bringing people together in person who can use their collective local knowledge, concern for their community, and willingness to work collectively to give local residents a voice. What's more, the internet can be utilised to make residents' associations even more effective, to alert people as to what is going on in their local patch and indeed bring people together. Any successful community group needs a core of committed and enthusiastic people to take the lead. In the case of residents' associations, they are often the people in the know who understand what is great about where they live, what needs fixing, and who know lots of local people. But no residents' association can be truly successful if it is not inclusive and doesn't try to encourage as many people as possible to join. They tend to be made up of people who are retired, who no longer have to care for children and have the time to devote to their local community. This is true, but it is also changing. Many of the people who are volunteering to support the relaunched Winchmore Hill Residents Association are indeed younger. They have busy lives and families to care for, but understand the importance of giving just a little time with neighbours and other local residents to protect their community now and for future generations. The old adage, power to the people, really does still hold true. You can find out more about Winchmore Hill Residents Association by visiting whresidents.org.
Lollipop Warden Campaign. Petition launched to restore school crossing patrol. Campaigners are calling for the return of a lollipop warden outside a primary school to keep pupils safe on a busy road. A petition has been set up calling on Enfield Council to bring back the school crossing patrol at Hazelbury Primary School in Hazelbury Road, Edmonton. Many of those commenting on the petition warn reckless and aggressive drivers are putting youngsters' safety at risk. Parents of children attending the Latimer School, which is also in Hazelbury Road, have also signed the petition. The council scrapped school lollipop wardens last summer to help save money in the face of an ongoing budget squeeze. But campaigners say crossing patrols are vital in ensuring road safety, and their petition has attracted more than 700 signatures so far. The campaigners say, as a school community, it is clear that we are concerned about the safety and well-being of our children in the surrounding roads of the school during the beginning and end of the school day. While we urge all car users to be safe when collecting or dropping off their children, I'm sure you would agree that having a lollipop warden was vital in ensuring road safety for pedestrians. Our pupils have expressed their own concerns and are keen to exert their right to attend school in a safe way and feel that this should be supported by all adults. A council spokesperson said, "The council has invested heavily in recent years to improve road safety around schools with the implementation of 20-mile-per-hour zones and zebra crosses. But a combination of significant spending cuts and an increase in pressure on services means the council has to make difficult decisions on where it spends its budget. Only a few schools had a crossing patrol and, with the measures in place, children continue to be able to travel safely to and from these schools. Enfield Council and our schools are committed to doing what we can to promote healthy, active ways of getting to and from school. But the ultimate responsibility for ensuring children are safe while travelling to and from school is and must remain a parental one."
Christmas Bells, a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I heard the bells on Christmas Day their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men, and thought how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day. A voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then from each black accursed mouth the cannon thundered in the south, and, with the sound, the carols drowned of peace on earth, goodwill to men. It was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. "There is no peace on earth," I said, "for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men." Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week and for this year. Thank you for listening. We hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And so from the team of Sally, Alison, Geoffrey, Joan and Hass on the controls, it's goodbye.
Happy Christmas!
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet. Put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 0208 805 6578. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again on the 9th of January 2020. And just before we go to the news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound, we will leave you with this.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
News and information about living with sight loss from InfoSound.
This may not seem like the best time of year to be thinking about doing too much exercise outdoors for any length of time, whether sighted or vision impaired, young or not so young. And for anyone who wants to keep active or just take some form of exercise, that can be a problem. Shorter days, colder weather, the rain, it's hardly conducive to keeping fit. But of course there are quite a few ways to get active indoors, from swimming to indoor games like football, tennis, and the game invented for blind, partially sighted and sighted people to play together, goalball. And if you know where to go, these activities, with adapted versions of several games specifically for vision-impaired people, can be found at local leisure centres. Overseeing a whole range of sports and helping to make them accessible right across the UK, British Blind Sport encourages blind and partially sighted people of all ages and abilities to have a go at any time of the year. And importantly, British Blind Sport can be the people to talk to find out where sporting opportunities can be found close to where you live. Alex Pitts from British Blind Sport told us how they can help, not least because they could well be the ones who've encouraged those activities to be set up in the first place.
British Blind Sport, we kind of see ourselves as more of a facilitator of sport and activity. So we will approach local clubs, organisations and leisure centres to encourage them to make their sports and their activities inclusive to people with visual impairment. So the opportunities are kind of endless for people with a visual impairment, and throughout the winter, encouraging them to just lead a bit more of an active lifestyle, whether that be from the comfort of their own homes, whether they go out to their local leisure centre, get down to their swimming pool. We're there to support their journey in whatever they are interested in taking part in.
I guess swimming, well, in an indoor pool anyway, is a really good activity at this time of year. Is that an easy thing for you to facilitate? And do they accommodate blind and partially sighted swimmers? I mean, how popular is swimming, for example?
We have a partnership organisation called Metro Blind Sport. They're very similar to British Blind Sport, but they're based in the Greater London area. And they conducted a survey with a range of visually impaired people that are living in London. Swimming had come out as one of the most popular sports of choice by someone with a visual impairment. So it's kind of imperative that we look to make swimming more accessible and more inclusive. And in particular, a lot of leisure centres that have swimming pools have staff that are able to feel confident to support them, and going swimming is just such an inclusive sport for everyone, no matter what impairment or disability you might have.
Are there ever, if you like, VI-only sessions at swimming pools, at leisure centres, so blind and partially sighted people can have a slightly safer environment in which to swim?
Yeah, there is quite often. I've seen a lot now that there's a few swimming pools that have disability-specific sessions, but also a lot of sight loss associations spread out across the nation. Many have sports coordinators or a sports department was set up within it, and they will work with their local leisure providers to put on visually impaired friendly specific swimming sessions as well. So I know that there are a few spread out across the country to welcome people who maybe do want to participate just with other people with visual impairment as well.
Now, I know that BBS covers a lot of sports, and we've talked about leisure centres and swimming pools. Those two, I guess, sometimes physically are in the same place. But there are a whole load of other sports that you cover. What kind of sports does one find at a leisure centre that perhaps someone with limited or no vision can really get involved with, and how easy is it to do that?
I I suppose it depends on the leisure centre that you've got and the facility that they have available. Leisure centres obviously quite often have outdoor pitches for football, tennis courts and everything like that. So it is worth speaking to your local leisure centre to find out what sports are there and which sports might be more inclusive to someone with an impairment or a disability. So with the leisure centres that have an Inclusive Fitness Initiative accreditation, their sessions, no matter what they're offering, should be inclusive to everyone, and the staff should feel confident to be able to support someone with a visual impairment from the moment that they arrive at the leisure centre to the time that they leave as well. So they can get involved in the classes that they get put on. You know, spinning is a really inclusive sport as well. And yeah, it's really on an ad hoc basis, it's worth inquiring with your local leisure centre to find out what they have on offer for you.
And I'm thinking in particular about the blind and partially sighted variants of sports like tennis, goalball, but that's a sport in its own right, but also indoor football and so on and so forth. So there are different sports that one can take part in at a leisure centre inside a hall. You don't necessarily have to go outside. But even outside there are variants of sports as well for blind and partially sighted people. But how common is it?
It's really common. Across the country, we have organisations called National Governing Bodies of Sport, and these organisations will look after their specific sport. So, for example, for the football, it could be the Football Association. With tennis, it could be the Lawn Tennis Association. Within those organisations, they have a strand that focuses on disability and inclusion, and one of those areas of focus will be to accommodate sessions and be inclusive for those who are blind and partially sighted. So more often than not, and especially in the major cities, you will find VI specific or visually impaired inclusive specific sports spread out across that city as well. Football, tennis, goalball, they tend to be the more popular ones that we see spread out across the country. But we're soon going to be launching an online database that can support someone to find out what is in their area.
And presumably people can get in touch with you. I mean, could that even be someone saying, look, I just want to get out. I want to do a bit of walking. I may want to do a bit of running. I want a guide runner so I can do a bit of running. Can they get in touch with you as a first port of call so that you can then steer them to what might be happening locally to them?
Oh, definitely. We do want British Blind Sport to be the go-to place to find out about what's going on in your area. Just for example, you know, we get out and about, we go to a lot of exhibitions and things, and we get to meet visually impaired people all the time. And for example, you know, we did have an 80-year-old stumble across our table not so long ago, and when they found out it was about British Blind Sport, and they said, oh no, you know, I'm in my 80s, sport is not for me. And I was like, don't be silly, everyone can start somewhere and we can help you, even if it is just getting out and walking. We can find a local Walking for Health group. Maybe we can get them in touch with their local guide runner. They start off walking and they build up. We just want to help someone get a bit more active and lead a bit more of a healthier lifestyle. And, you know, we all know that sport's not for everyone, so it can just be a bit of gentle activity, whether that's walking, just going out for a gentle stroll, just to build up their fitness and their physical activity levels.
So there you are, a clear message from British Blind Sport that whatever your age and sporting ability, they will do their best to point you towards somewhere not too far from where you live, where you can join in some form of sporting activity, which British Blind Sport is keen to point out can also bring social benefits as well. And they can be phoned on 01 926 42 4247. That's 01 926 42 4247. Or emailed at info@britishblindsport, that's all one lowercase word, .org.uk. info@britishblindsport.org.uk. They're active on social media as well, and you can find out more on their website at www.britishblindsport.org.uk.
InfoSound. News and information about living with sight loss. From InfoSound.
Magazine feel packs is one way that the unique books from living paintings have been described. The national charity takes a multi-format approach to bringing a subject to life for their currently 15,500 blind and partially sighted members, and membership is totally free, by the way. In fact, Living Paintings says it's the only charity in the UK which designs, creates and publishes tactile and audio books for vision-impaired people. They call them Touch to See books. These books cover a range of subjects. You can, for example, listen to the visual world described by a cast of actors, comedians and presenters, explore the weather, friendship, romance, true crime, famous people and events in history, or maybe take a virtual tour around a famous gallery or museum collection, find out about British birds, other wildlife and specific areas of Great Britain, discovering cities, counties and places of interest.
Let me tell you of the essence and magic of this garden, and then we'll explore it together on the raised image before you. We are looking at the garden from the front, as if we are about to enter it. It is a chic garden entry at Chelsea, and is only 5 metres by 4.5 metres, so you can appreciate that it is a small area, but it's full of vitality, elegance and interest.
The unmistakable voice of Sir Derek Jacobi describing a garden as the reader explores an accompanying tactile image. Each Touch to See book for adults typically contains between 3 and 17 tactile pictures, an audio guide that describes and discusses the pictures, often read by famous voices and enhanced with music and sound effects, as well as colour pictures that can be shared with sighted people. We spoke to Bridget Norman from Living Paintings about just 2 of their book packs. They're short stories looking at theatre and film. Masters of the Silver Screen, which introduces the work of 3 of cinema's great directors, and From Page to Stage, a behind-the-scenes guide to transforming much-loved books into stage productions. But before finding out a little more about those 2, and we should say that there are over 600 titles in their library, Bridget first explained what exactly their members receive when one of their Touch to See books arrives through the post.
Well, they would get 3 thermoforms, which are the 3 tactile images, which would be one for each of the different, for example, one for Alfred Hitchcock's films and one for Jaws. They get one for each of the different cinematic or theatre productions that we're talking about. And then accompanying that, they have the audio guide, and that has tracks with information about the specific productions and about maybe how they were put together, and then the tactile image descriptions. And then also might be a track about the director specifically for that film, for example, and how their techniques were used and how they developed those techniques. And then we also have guidance notes that go with that, which is a printed bound copy where they can read the scripts and have them on the USB stick as well, so they can read scripts of what the audio guide is telling them if our members prefer to do that.
So it's a kind of multi-format approach, and I guess centred around these images and these unique thermoforms that you produce to display an image in a very tactile way. And that's used in these short stories. Is it what could be called entertainment short stories for film and theatre?
Yes, that's right. So, for example, in the theatre pack, we have a tactile picture of the Warhorse puppet, Joey from Warhorse, and showing the puppeteers how they control and operate the horse, and that's really interesting to understand. So if you're going to go and see the play, then obviously it's wonderful to be able to understand how that works, the mechanics of that a little bit, before you actually go and then maybe get to meet the puppet if you want a touch tour and feel how it actually works with people inside it. But if you felt a tactile representation, it's a really good place to kind of introduce you to that. And then in the cinema, obviously it's an incredibly visual medium for most people. And then with the tactile images, you're actually able to translate that. So if your peers have watched the film Jaws, for example, they're able to then go, okay, I understand what this is because I have a tactile picture, I can feel over this, I can explore this. And it's all about bringing to life these kind of magazine feel packs with a sort of story thread and a bit of a taster for what we do in the different worlds of theatre and film.
Incidentally, the audio guides are available on MP3 CD and on USB memory stick. Now, as mentioned, membership of Living Paintings is absolutely free. There are no charges for late or lost book packs, and postage both ways is also free under Royal Mail's Articles for the Blind postal concession. The books can be borrowed for up to 3 months. Members do not have to be registered, sight-impaired or severely sight-impaired, to join, and if you ask to become a member, they say they can go through your interests with you and in that way can point you towards subjects that may suit you best. But obviously the whole library is at your disposal once you join. And for more information about what's in the Living Paintings library and how to join, you can phone the charity on 01 635 299 771. That's 01 635 299 771. Or you can email them at library@livingpaintings, all run together as one lowercase word, .org. library@livingpaintings.org. Or if you have internet access, you can visit their website at www.livingpaintings.org and follow the link called Join Now.
Infosound. Infosound.
It's possible that you might find yourself doing a bit more cooking around Christmas and the New Year. If so, RNIB and Cobalt Systems have a variety of cooking implements designed to make life a little easier when preparing and cooking food if you have limited or no sight. To give just one example, RNIB sells a collection of non-slip plastic food preparation chopping boards with raised edges around 3 sides of the board to prevent food from sliding off the board during preparation. And a non-slip ring on the base helps to stop the board from sliding on your work surface. As well as that, these particular boards are supplied with a 4-pronged metal food holder that attaches to the board on one of its 3 raised edges. The spikes are intended for sticking into a piece of soft fruit or vegetable, into cheese or maybe bread, not harder foods like onions or potatoes, and it keeps it in place while you're slicing or chopping it. The smaller versions of these boards measure 220mm long by 170mm wide by 5mm high, and they're available in white, red or yellow. Each costs £19.95. RNIB also sells a larger version available in red, which measures 280 by 210 by 5mm, and interestingly it too is priced at £19.95. These chopping boards are dishwasher safe but not designed for use on a stove or in a conventional, combination or microwave oven, but they are suitable for both right and left-handed people. RNIB also sells an antibacterial chopping board. This 2-piece cutting board set features an antibacterial coating, and it has bending sides designed to make it easier as you tip the board at an angle to slide whatever's on the board into a pot or a pan. These boards also have a juice groove. Now, they're made of a soft plastic material which the manufacturers say won't dull your knife blades. As mentioned, it's a 2-piece chopping board set, one coloured orange, the other red, and they measure 380mm long by 255mm wide by 2mm deep. The price is £7.99 for the 2-piece set. And finally, on the subject of chopping boards, although this one has just one specific use, RNIB also sells an adjustable bread slicing guide board. It's intended just for cutting unsliced bread safely. The white plastic board is essentially the width of a standard loaf of bread, with a slightly raised edge either side, and at one end it has a vertical stand guide or slot down through which you saw cut the bread with a suitable bread cutting knife, which is not supplied with this board. You can change the thickness of each slice by adjusting the bar on the guide. This too can be used right or left-handed, since you can position the board either way around, with the vertical guide to your left or to your right. This bread cutting board measures 350mm long by 135mm wide by 147mm high, and the cost is £24.95. Unlike for the other boards mentioned, this price excludes VAT, and that price should apply if it's bought by a blind or partially sighted person or by someone on their behalf. RNIB makes the point that for hygiene reasons, none of these food preparation boards is returnable unless, of course, it's faulty. And more details about these chopping or slicing food preparation boards, or in fact anything else in RNIB's kitchen range of products for vision-impaired people, are available by giving them a call on 0303 123 9999. That's 0303 123 9999. Or you can drop them an email to helpline@rnib.org.uk.
Info Sound.